as far as the international living goes,
Hmm.
and you could speak on this better than me, but it's my understanding, based on the people who I've listened to who have traveled and lived abroad, that there's a big misconception. People look at, they watch the news, and all they ever see about Iran or Israel or Russia or whatever, name the country, you only see basically like their propaganda or the reflections of their government's actions. And
Hmm.
from what I understand, citizens are kind of all the same. Like they want to have a job and have a family and be kind to their neighbors.
Hmm.
And when I was growing up, of course, I was born in '86, so when I was in junior high and high school, I was highly propagandized against the Middle East,
Hmm.
and like
Yep.
everyone there hated us and wanted us to die. And I've come to find out, no, they're like us. They just live somewhere else.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Is that fairly accurate?
For the most part, I'd say most people are that way. 70, 80% are that way. They want to live and let live. They just want to succeed. They want to have a good life. They want to enjoy themselves. They want to see their loved ones, whether it's family or friends or whatever, get better and continue on. It's a very universal truth. At the same time, there is definitely prejudices that are brought in by government that permeate, and everybody accepts it. Like when I first moved to China, it was like, oh well, you guys are pretty. What do you mean? Oh, you can't do this. Well, why would you ever want to do that? What do you mean vote? Nobody wants to vote. Who wants to vote? Because while China talks about, yeah, we've got votes and everybody can vote. Well, if you can vote, you got to be a member of the Communist Party, and not everybody can be a member of the Communist Party. You have to be accepted. And when you do get a vote, your candidates of choice are usually one for every single position. So you're
Right.
voting. You're not allowed to vote number one anybody, and number two you get your choice. And a lot of them had never heard of Tiananmen Square massacre. They hadn't even heard of the
They
tank.
hadn't heard of it.
They hadn't heard of
It
it,
was
and it was
whitewashed.
yeah, and it was all blocked, and you couldn't hear it. And so a lot of times people are brainwashed so much they believe that certain things are a certain way. And at the same time, a lot of times governments are highly repressive. I've spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East, and a lot of the general people are very open to everybody else, but there's a lot of them that aren't, and they're fully believe that hey, you're an American, you need to die because you ruined our country. And I'm like, well, I didn't ruin your country. In fact, you guys kind of ruined your own country. We gave you hundreds of billions of dollars to make it better, and you did nothing with it but turn around and attack everybody else. So, little self reflection, eh? It's true. I think if governments were not so propagandizing, things would be a lot better. But governments do it for the reason governments do it. It's human nature, right? To
Yeah,
always set up things for yourself best you can. If that means everybody else pays a penalty, then everybody else pays a penalty.
and like you said, some of them are saying, "Oh, you ruined our country," and you're like, "No, you ruined your country."
Hmm.
And in the reality, you didn't do anything, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's all the government actions, and if we don't actually control our government, which I would argue America is either there or close to it,
Hmm.
if that's the case, then none of us are doing anything. We're just watching the show unfold and hoping it works out for our side.
100%. And I will tell you though, having lived everywhere, the countries that had the most amount of freedom in terms of personal ability to own firearms or to build your own business or grow things, whatever you want, build your own self up, were mainly in Eastern Europe, the U.S., Thailand to a certain extent. Because you can own firearms, things like that there. Chile to a certain extent. The other ones I've been to, I've been to 105 countries.
Wow.
And yeah, the ones that have the most freedom are also the ones that tend to have the most active folks in terms of government and trying to control the politics. And they have the most most turnover, shall we say, in political control and who runs them. So when a government starts to crack down and people start to just turn away some of their basic human rights, like the right to free speech, the right to self-defense, the right to self-determination,